They stormed the Capitol on January 6th. They beat up 140 police officers, killed one. Okay, they killed one.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Fox News Townhall featuring Tim Ryan and J.D. Vance out there in Columbus, Ohio. Now, if you don't know, these two guys are running for the open Senate seat that has been left by a retiring Republican. I think J.D. Vance, the Republican, is going to win the seat, but Tim Ryan is right on his heels. It's not going to be a slam dunk election, in my humble opinion. It could be, but it might not be. So if you live out there in Ohio, or if you're from Ohio, you have Ohio registration, please, please, please go out there and vote, because your vote will matter. Now, before I get into all the details, let's roll some clips. Of course, these clips will be in the description box if you want to see and hear them without my commentary. But let's start first things first. We'll get to the whole J6 thing in just a moment. First, let's start with Tim Ryan talking about pledging to defund ICE, but then saying, no, I didn't do that. You're imagining things.
Against funding for the border wall, you voted against funding for drug enforcement, and you called for defunding ICE. Why?
I absolutely never called for defunding ICE. Not one time.
Let's pause. There's a link right here. Of course, like I said, these clips will be in the description with the links and everything else, because I'll just post the Twitter links on my website. You see it right here. Okay, here's a link, and then the actual hyperlink says, Tim Ryan pledged in 2019 to defund ICE, support citizenship for millions of illegal immigrants. And he wanted to reduce ICE's detention budget by 75%. So already he's lying.
Not one time. Now, you could laugh all you want. Not one time. Okay? Never. And I have voted to increase funding for border security. I think we need more border patrol, not less. I have a resolution in the House.
So, yeah, lying already. There's evidence to prove it. Now, here's what he's talking about January 6th. This was really interesting. The crowd was booing him, calling him a liar and everything else. Let's go ahead and roll this clip.
The guys who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, they are the lead. They're the leaders. This is what I'm saying. They stormed the Capitol on January 6th. They beat up 140 police officers, killed one. Okay, they killed one. We all watched the video. And
you can hear him in the background. Liar, liar, liar. You can't unhear that. You know what's going on. And he's in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to y'all. I got a lot of family out there. He's in his state right now, and he's not doing very well in front of his potential constituents.
Let him finish, please.
And I'm happy to have this conversation. I'm not afraid to have this conversation. These are the conversations we need to have in this country. I welcome you guys.
Okay, so that's that. Really interesting. And then here's another one talking about abortion. This seems to be a pretty big issue with some people, although not bigger than inflation, things like gas prices, food prices, prices of prescription medication, things of that nature. I think those things are much bigger than abortion, but to some, abortion is still a pretty big issue. Let's go ahead and roll this as well.
What is your limit?
I believe if it's later in the term that there should not be an abortion unless there is a medical emergency.
Let's pause right here. Now, while in Congress, he voted for there to be no limits on abortion. But this whole first term, second term, third term thing doesn't make a difference. And also, that was some real political language right there. He says, I think there shouldn't be. But are you going to put that into law, though? Are you going to say there should not be? Meaning, or there will not be, pardon me. There will not be, meaning there's legislation behind it. Should not means, oh, well, there shouldn't. But if you want to do it, go ahead. Although I don't agree with it. Those are two different things. So keep on going here.
Like, it's at that point, people they have a nursery. They have binkies. They have blankets. They have names picked out. They're ready to have a party. If it happens late in term, That's tragedy. It's absolute tragedy. And so I don't.
So at what point in the pregnancy does the binky and whatnot come about? When do you buy the crib? At what point in the pregnancy is there a federal legislation for that? Or is it just whenever the parents say they're going to have a baby, which could be at the point of conception, whenever they think that they're pregnant, whenever they get morning sickness or whatever, whenever that test comes back positive, does that start the whole binky process? I'm kind of confused.
I don't think we should have abortions later in the term unless there's a medical emergency. And what's happening now in Ohio, Brett, is sad because we see a story or two every single week of people, women who are in this tragic situation. Their life becomes at risk. They have to go to Illinois. Now, J.D. Vance.
Now, I think I saw one story about somebody leaving the state and going somewhere else to have an abortion. That might have been Ohio. I'm not really sure, but I think I saw one story about that. So I'm not really sure if this is, true or false, what he's talking about here.
Vance wants a national abortion ban, and he wouldn't be happy with these people going to Illinois. He wants them to have to get a passport and go to Canada. He called rape inconvenient.
This is after 15 weeks is what he's talked about. We're going to ask him all these questions.
After 15 weeks.
So what's your number? What you say you don't want it after?
I think we go back to Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade was in the third term.
I mean, he's just saying things that sound good to liberal people because they don't understand really what's going on. Roe v. Wade does not say what he thinks it doesn't say what he says that it's saying. Not at all.
In the third term of Roe v. Wade, you could only do it if there was some kind of medical emergency. We don't want J.D. Vance and Ted Cruz and all these guys in the doctor's office.
Do you think that the Democratic bills to so-called codify Roe v. Wade have some sort of limit in them? Because we haven't seen it. The one that was in the House did not have a limit. So you have a limit.
My personal view is we go back to Roe v. Wade. We move away from this chaos that we're in now.
So basically you want to federalize abortion rather than having the states having their say in it. So the things that you're talking about, if it was not popular on the federal level, it couldn't happen. But if you were the senator, or if you had some kind of say-so in your local lawmaking, then you can make that happen in Ohio, but you want it to be a federal thing. Pretty interesting. We're talking about running for senator or running for president. Because remember, he did try to become the president back, I think, 2019, 2020. But anyway, let's go continue here. This is J.D. Vance talking about his view on abortion. And remember, this is a town hall, so it's not a debate because they're not on the same platform at the same time. They take turns. He'll be on stage, and then the other guy will be on stage, or vice versa.
That would make that a reality.
I'm going to go to...
Because this is what Tim Ryan brought up as well with regard to abortion. He said you want to ban abortion in Ohio and across this country. Is that true?
Look, I'm pro-life. I am pro-life. The bill that Now, look, there's a very, very important question about whether this should happen at the federal level or at the state level. And I happen to think it should be a little bit of a mix. In other words, 90% of abortion policy is going to be made by the state of Ohio. And I think that's absolutely the right way it should be. Ohio is going to want to have a different abortion policy from California. And I think every person in Ohio, whether you're pro-choice or pro-life like I am, absolutely should be able to make that decision. Now, there is a federal piece of legislation moving through the Senate right now, and here's what it does. Very simply, it provides reasonable exceptions, but it also sets a minimum national standard, and I think that that's a good idea. We should not in this country be aborting babies who can feel pain, who are fully formed. That's my view, and I'm certainly willing to support legislation that would make that a reality.
Now, my question would be, what is this limit? Because when I hear that, I'm thinking about a certain number of weeks. I think Lindsey Graham was talking about 20 weeks. That's way too much because most abortions happen before 20 weeks. Like 95% of abortions happen before 20 weeks. So I think maybe there should be some kind of heartbeat bill type situation where it's like 5 to 6 weeks. Now, if you were to ask me, I would say no abortion, period, outlaw abortion altogether. If I could be the king and just rule by fiat and do that, but I would settle for a heartbeat bill 5 to 6 weeks. But I'm not quite sure what Mr. Vance was speaking about right there specifically. Let's keep on going here. Talking about elections right now.
I do believe in the integrity of Ohio's elections. I think we have great elections in the state of Ohio. I think, frankly, our Secretary of State, if I can put a little plug in for Frank LaRose, does a great job of administering our elections in the state of Ohio.
Shout out to him. And that's something that is pretty important. If people think that, oh, my vote won't matter, they're going to steal it anyway, your vote matters because of what your state does. It's not really a federal issue. Your state needs to have tighter voter security, better voter integrity. They did that in Georgia, and now you have record turnout. Not only record turnout, but also record security from what I'm able to gather. All right, so you need to have that in your state where you live. If you have kind of raggedy stuff going on, that's a state issue, not a federal issue. Now, they're talking about inflation and stuff right there. There's more clips, of course, but I'll link to all those in the box for time's sake. And also so you can see them without my commentary and share them with family and friends. If you're living in Ohio, be like, hey, man, watch that. Who are you going to vote for? But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right here. I thought that was a pretty decent town hall. Again, it wasn't a debate because they were on at the different times. They be with the moderators talking just between JD Vance and then also Tim Ryan. They were on stage separate times. So I thought it was pretty good overall. A lot of good points were made, but if you were to ask me, I think J.D. Vance, the Republican, did the best. He did very well. He had clear and concise, straightforward answers, and it made sense. The crowd resonated, so I think he'd be able to do a very good job in this upcoming election in Ohio to become the next senator, replacing the Republican who was the incumbent. And Tim Ryan, I don't know. He's just kind of hanging around. I'm not sure that he really wants to win. Maybe he wants to try to become the president again. I don't know. Trying to, do something else in Ohio. I have no idea. But he might be able to come pretty close to J.D. Vance, unfortunately. But I think ultimately J.D. Vance will win. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about this town hall between Tim Ryan, the Democrat, and J.D. Vance, the Republican? Who do you think is going to win out there in Ohio to become the next senator? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys should know where I'm at. I think J.D. Vance did a very good job here, and I think Tim Ryan destroyed himself, all right? J.D. Vance did a good job answering questions and rebutting and whatnot, but Tim Ryan, I mean, that whole J6 thing, that was a dumpster fire. A lot of his responses are what they say in D.C., inside the Beltway, close to the Capitol. But once you leave D.C., once you go to Middle America, Ohio, where you're trying to become the next senator, those same answers and that same attitude does not apply. It doesn't really work. It works inside that place. There's kind of a walled garden. But once you're out here in the real world, those things you do in that walled garden don't translate at all. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.